Could this be the scene straight out of an Italian comedy? A man in Rome had to be rescued after he was buried 6 meters deep in an illegal tunnel he had dug. Police believe he could have been attempting to rob a bank until things went very, very wrong. His rescue required a lot of heavy-duty equipment and hours of manpower. Understandably, it's the talk of the town.
It's like that film, The Down in the Hole Gang. Some say no. They say it could have been a worker who fell. Yeah, right. A worker who fell. A worker who just happened to fall meters underground. It's ridiculous.
First, he risks his life. Second, he has to make a huge effort. Third, he didn't accomplish anything. In the end, if he just stayed seated and did nothing, he would have been better off.
Police say there are 2 banks within a few hundred meters from the collapsed site. Another 2 people helping the man were arrested after they tried to flee the scene. Investigations are ongoing into whether the group was attempting to reach a bank.
A bird's-eye view of Ostend in the French region of Gironde after a hellish week in which more than 7,400 hectares of forest have burned and at least 10,000 people have been evacuated from their homes. Although they were partially contained during the night, the fires rage on one of the hottest days of the summer. Firefighters from all over Europe have come to the aid of their French colleagues who are unable to cope with the sheer number of new outbreaks and the re-emergence of fires that had not been completely extinguished.
We have 1,100 firefighters present, plus an additional 361 personnel and 101 vehicles from European support. They will arrive, some arrived yesterday, like our German and Romanian friends. And then our Austrian and Polish friends will arrive later today.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen took to social media to praise the solidarity of heroic firefighters across the continent, plagued by drought and heat waves. This map shows how large swathes of Europe and North Africa are now in extreme danger of catching fire. Elsewhere, blazes continue to wreak havoc in parts of Greece, Italy and Spain. And in Portugal, flames have engulfed the Serra da Estrela Natural Park, causing irreparable damage to a World Heritage Site.
As London swelters in the blistering heat, the UK government has officially declared a drought in several parts of England, including the Thames. Following months of record low rainfall and scorching temperatures, water rationing might soon take place. Germany has also not escaped the dry spells, which continue to wreak havoc across the country. Water levels have dropped so low that most cargo ships are struggling to pass through a stretch of the River Rhine between Kaub and Mainz. Authorities are now looking for alternative shipping routes and have taken steps to move some goods onto the rail network. Moving east to the Netherlands, floating houses are now stuck in the mud along the River Vaal. In a bid to salvage short supplies of well water, farmers have been banned from irrigating their land by day in some parts of the country. Severe drought has hit southeast Europe too, with ships struggling to navigate the shallow waters of the Danube. Emergency dredging operations are underway so that boats can pass through. At the border between Romania and Bulgaria, where the river has dropped to historic lows, dozens of sand islands have surfaced. Romania's biggest water transportation company says this is the most serious situation it has seen in the last 20 years.
This exact spot is the intersection between Romania and Bulgaria. On the border, the Danube is usually flowing. Now we can see sand, a beach on the Romanian side.
Meanwhile, the continuing heat has increased the temperature of these waterways to over 25 degrees in parts. For sun worshippers, this exceptionally dry summer is a gift. However, most locals are praying for rain.
Sofia Yazakova is hard at work, creating a large-scale drawing that represents the Ukrainian soldiers that have died defending their home country. For a long time, art seemed pointless, but moving into a Ukrainian art collective here in Berlin has helped.
For the first 2 months, I couldn't pick up a pencil or a brush, couldn't think about anything. Everything seemed useless and meaningless because the war was on. People were dying, so what could I possibly draw? But when I arrived here and for the last 2 weeks in Kyiv, I stopped despairing and I started to draw.
The art collective called the Ukrainian Cultural Community has been set up with the help of German organizations. 18 Ukrainian artists are living here in a 500 square meter flat that used to be a brothel right in the center of the German capital.
I think this is a very open metropolis, a city where a lot of cultures interact and also where we have a lot of space for people to live, space for people to get support and to meet each other.
Victoria Temnova is from Kherson, a city in the south of Ukraine that is occupied by Russian troops. Back home, she was a well-known fashion photographer. Here in Berlin, she is exhibiting photos from the city from before the war to show people the real face of her home.
My city now has another everything. Like it's still Ukraine, but with no rules, with someone who just wanted to do something violence with your people.
Around 70,000 Ukrainian refugees are in Berlin. Each person brings their own story, their own sorrows and their own hopes. Now, migrants and refugees always bring something to the countries where they do end up, and this is of course no exception. The artists that have ended up here in the German capital Berlin have brought their own art, their own way of looking at the world to Germany. This is Jonah Kellgren reporting for Euronews Berlin.
In Brazil, coffee is big business, and in a rapidly developing market, coffee growers are constantly finding new ways to stand out from the rest. As the world's largest producer, the country boasts some 200,000 coffee bean farms. One such farm is Goiabal, located 150 kilometers northeast of Rio de Janeiro. Growers here are working hard to create their unique specialty brew.
First, the green berries are sorted out. Only the really ripe coffee remains. It is particularly rich in sugar.
On their farm, Eleonora and her husband have created a new way to lock in that special flavour.
The coffee here is now fermented. The farm specialises in this. The coffee has been stored in a vat for 6 days and is now being dried.
From coffee farms to festivals, enthusiasts in Brazil's capital are bringing the public and professionals together to celebrate the field's growing diversity.
People are only really learning how to drink coffee today. If you consume coffee with sugar or sweetener, the taste is removed. Specialty coffee doesn't need to be sweetened.
5 of New York City's most iconic dance companies have come together for a festival under the stars. Commissioned by the Lincoln Center, the goal of the shows is to remove barriers for not only those on the stage but off, with free entertainment. Each unique evening of the program has been curated by the artistic directors of the 5 companies. Dancers will also offer daily workshops for all ages.
At Lincoln Center, our job is to bring in audiences from all over New York and make sure there's no barriers between them experiencing the best art in the world. And so we do that in a lot of ways, but one of those ways is free tickets throughout our entire summer programming. And we've been lucky enough to welcome hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers here on campus to see the best work in the world.
It's all part of the Band Together Dance Festival, founded more than a century ago by French fashion designer Gabrielle Chanel. Last year's event was a resounding success, proof that New Yorkers were excited for their beloved dance companies to return to the stage. This year it goes one step further, with the dancers performing side by side.